I guess, I mean, that's actually a really good example because that kind of leads into what I've always been fascinated by a lot of what you're doing is, well, I guess, well, I'll start with, how did you get into this? I mean, you know.
Into cars?
Into cars, into taking over NASA, into, well, not taking over NASA, right. I know, being a contractor for NASA.
For the record, we're
not
taking over NASA.
You're not taking over NASA, they're an independent organization. But you all are becoming a major provider of services for NASA, obviously kind of internet payments and payments generally. I mean, these are three completely different spaces. I think a lot of people would not take someone seriously if they kind of had a business plan in one of these.
Right. Sorry to eat.
Oh yeah, you take your time. What was your, I mean, did you always think you were going to be doing this? Or when did it dawn on you that you would try to revolutionize three industries?
Well, when I was in college, I didn't actually expect to do it. So it was not like this is some long fulfilled expectation. But when I was in college, I thought about what are the areas that would most affect the future of humanity, in my opinion. And the three areas were the internet, sustainable energy, and space exploration, particularly if humanity becomes a multi-planet species. You know, there's kind of like a pretty substantial bifurcation in our sort of future if we're either out there among the stars on multiple planets, or if we're confined to Earth until some obviously eventual extinction event.
Yeah.
Not that I'm pessimistic about life on Earth. I mean, I think some things are likely to be good.
But even
more likely to be good by far.
Yellowstone's due for an explosion every several hundred thousand.
Exactly.
Shantanu knows about that. Yeah. It's been 700,000 since.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
But yeah.
Yeah.
Super volcano, for those of you who don't know, it would envelop the, well, sorry.
Yeah, no, exactly.
Yeah.
I know exactly what you're talking about. Exactly. So
we read the same books, I can tell.
Right, absolutely. Yes. I mean, something bad is bound to happen if you give it enough time. And civilization has been around for such a very short period of time that you know, these timescales seem like very long, but on a evolutionary timescale, they're very short.
Yeah.
You know, a million years on evolutionary timescale is really not much. And you know, Earth's been around for 4.5 billion years.
Yeah.
So that's, you know, a very tiny amount of time, really. But for us, that would be, I mean, can you imagine if human civilization continued at anything remotely like the current pace of technology advancement for 1 million years, where would we be?
Yeah.
I mean, I think we're either extinct or on a lot of planets.
Yes, we should.
Those are the two options.
But given that, I mean, one, that's kind of as epic as one can think about things, I mean, literally. I mean, how did you make that concrete? How does that turn into SpaceX, Tesla, and PayPal?
Well, so I thought about these things kind of in the abstract, not from the expectation that I would actually have careers in those arenas, but I wanted to be involved in at least one of them. Mm-hmm. And at first I thought the best bet was going to be electric cars. Yeah. And so the area that I was studying was advanced capacitors. Right? So essentially capacitors that have an energy density exceeding that of batteries. Because they have a very high power density, but low energy density. Yeah. We have a lecture to that effect.
Oh yes, no, we should do that. We'll go later. But yeah.
Exactly. So obviously, if you could make a capacitor that had anywhere near the energy density of a battery, and with its incredibly high power density and its quasi-infinite cycle and calendar life, then you would have an awesome solution for energy storage in mobile applications. Yeah. So that I was going to sort of work on that and try to leverage the equipment that was developed for advanced chip making and photonics to create ultra precise capacitors at the molecular level.
And this is when you were going to go into grad school?
Yeah,
you had a brief stint at Stanford.
That's right.
For a PhD in applied physics?
Applied physics and material science.
Right. This is what you were, so even then you were thinking of kind of trying to do something in the space.
Well, actually this was to work on energy storage solutions for electric cars.
Yeah.
And I'd actually worked at a company in Silicon Valley called Pinnacle Research, which did advanced capacitors. They were electrolytic capacitors, but the problem, and they actually were pretty good. They had like the energy density of a lead-acid battery, which for a capacitor that's a big deal. But they used ruthenium tantalum oxide, and I think at the time there was maybe like 1 or 2 tons of ruthenium mined per year in the world.
See.
So it's not a scalable solution. Yeah. But I thought there could be some solid-state solution just like, say, using chip making equipment. That was going to be the basic idea. But it was one of those things where I wasn't sure if success was one of the possible outcomes. And like it's difficult to bound that problem exactly and say, okay.
So you're saying I felt like this was a destined failure is another way to parse that sentence. But anyway, so.
No, I didn't think it would fail, but I wasn't sure that success was a possibility.
Okay, yes.
And generally, you want to embark on something, it's desirable to figure out if success is at least one of the possibilities.
Right, exactly.
Because for sure failure is one of the possibilities.
Yes.
But ideally you want to try to bracket it and say success is in the envelope of outcomes.
Yeah.
And I wasn't quite sure if that was the case. I think success on an academic level would have been quite likely because you can publish some useless paper, and most papers are pretty useless.
We have a few. Don't take offense. Sorry.
I mean,
we have
how many PhD papers are actually used by someone ever? No,
that's a good point.
Percentage-wise, it's not good.
Yeah.
So it could have been one of those outcomes where you add some leaves to the tree of knowledge.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that leaf is nope, it's not possible.
Right.
Like,
right.
there goes 7 years of my life. So that was one path, and I was prepared to do that. But then the internet came along, and I was like, okay, the internet. I'm pretty sure success is one of the possible outcomes, and it seemed like I could either do a PhD and watch the internet happen, or I could participate and help build it in some fashion. Like I just couldn't stand the idea of watching it happen.
Yeah, yeah.
So I decided to put things on hold and start an internet company. And that was kind of we worked on internet, like publishing software, maps and directions, Yellow Pages kind of things. Yeah. And we had as investors and customers the media companies, so like New York Times Company, Knight Ridder, Hearst.
And this was just at the early stages. I mean, this was like late
95.
95. Oh, so it's really early stages. That's really out the gate. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And so then the reason we worked with the media companies is because we knew they had money. Like there was no advertising money in 95.
Right, right.
In fact, the idea of advertising the internet seemed like a ridiculous thing to people. Obviously not so ridiculous anymore, but at the time it seemed like a very unlikely proposition. And a lot of the media companies weren't even sure that they should be online.
Right.
Like what's the point of that? Yeah.
And did y'all think that PayPal was just going to be a simple little internet way to, or do you think it was going to turn into the major kind of transaction processing engine that it is right now?
I didn't expect PayPal's growth rate to be what it was.
Yeah.
So, and that actually created major problems. So we started PayPal on University Avenue.
Oh. Yeah.
After the first month or so of the website being active, we had 100,000 customers.
Really? Wow, I didn't realize it was.
Yeah, it was nutty.
Oh, wow. And how did it start? How did people just even know to use it? And I mean, obviously, both buyer and seller have to be involved.
Yeah. Well, we started off first by offering people $20 if they opened an account, and $20 if they referred anyone.
Oh.
And then we dropped it to $10, and then we dropped it to $5. As the network got bigger and bigger, the value of the network itself exceeded any sort of carrot that we could offer.
So how much money did y'all spend with that kind of $5, $10, $20 incentive to get that critical mass going?
That was a fair amount. I think it was probably $60 or $70 million.
Oh, wow, okay, so it was a
Yeah,
substantial. Oh, okay, so we're not talking peanuts here. Yeah, this is.
Yeah, it depends on your relative scale.
Yeah,
it's a peanut to Google.
Yes, no, that's right, that's right.
Yes, peanut.
Yes, yes.
I mean, like Google's got 50 billion, Apple's got, I don't know, 150 billion, some crazy amount of money.
Wow,
That's just cash.
Yeah, yeah. So it's not an outland. Well, yeah, no, I didn't realize like that was
1%
so
of Google's
core.
cash would be $500 million. So that's 0.1% of Google's cash.
That's true. You're right. That's inexpensive.
It's relative to them, it's pretty inexpensive.
Yeah, well, that's right.
And then we just did a bunch of things to decrease the friction because it's just like bacteria in a petri dish.
Yeah.
So what you want to do is try to have one customer generate like 2 customers.
Yeah.
Okay, or something like that, maybe 3 customers ideally. And then you want that to happen really fast. You could probably model it just like bacterial growth in a petri dish, like,
Yeah.
and it'll just it'll expand very quickly until it hits the sides of the petri dish. And it
Yeah.
just slows down.